Below the Bar podcast is not meant to be taken as legal advice. It is purely used for entertainment purposes. Corbin and I are not attorneys. In fact, we haven't even graduated law school yet.
We don't even know if we're going to graduate.
We don't even know if we're going to graduate. That's scary. So if you have any legal concerns, please, 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 I urge you guys to seek an actual attorney. With that being said, I hope you enjoy this episode, and that's all I have to say.
You're going to start an OnlyFans? I think the mic only caught me saying you're going to start an OnlyFans. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it.
Yeah.
We should just use that as like an intro.
It's just me
You're
laughing.
You're going to start an OnlyFans question mark?
Yeah, I like that where it's, you just
Like
there's not a
the
formal
intro.
entry. It's just like us kind of like, oh shit, it's on. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to Below the Bar podcast. My name is Drew, and who's this guy?
It's Corbin.
Oh, Corbin. All right.
How have you been?
I've been all right. Nothing too... Actually, I lied. I have something crazy to tell you about.
All right.
And I actually okayed this with her before I'm saying this, guys, so don't be like, why are you airing this girl's dirty laundry out like this? But one of my first... So I had to do some stuff for work this past week, and I was out driving around, and I come home, and I see one of our friends' cars parked out in front of the house. So I'm like, okay. So I go in, it's my own friend, or our friend, and I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? And she's like, I gotta tell you guys what just happened to me. I met this guy on this dating app, and we were supposed to go on this date today, and she goes, and for days prior to this, he was like all pumped to meet me. Like, he kept calling me, being like, hey, can we hang out today? You know, you have... like saying all this like real nice stuff to her and like just really wanted to hang out. And she goes, okay, like he really wants to meet me.
All right.
So the day of this date comes along and they're supposed to meet downtown at the Point. So she's on her way and he sends her a picture of, I'm setting this up to sound like something that it's not, but he sends her a picture of like not him, but like this landmark, like a building. He goes, this is where I'm at, It's basically like his viewpoint from a bench down at the Point. Like, this is where I'm at.
Yeah, like, if you see this, I'm close to there.
Yeah. So she gets down there and she's like, okay. And she gets downtown and she goes to that location and he's just not there. All right. So she takes a picture from the same vantage point and sends it to him. It's almost an identical
Just
photo.
like the exact same
It
one.
says like, hey, I'm here. Where are you? And he's just nowhere. So she walked around and he didn't ever respond. Nothing. Just freaking vaporized. All right. So, and I'm leaving that F-bomb in. She's just vaporized. She's like messaging him going like, hey man. And his phone's just off. Like, it's not saying it got delivered. Like, I'm like, this guy, we're going to find him dead in a dumpster somewhere in a couple of weeks. Like, what happened? He just disappeared. For hours, she didn't hear anything from him. And finally, I think she did hear something, and I don't know what ended up happening, but I was like...
I was going to say, did she just never hear from him
this
again?
This guy's dead. Like, she's going to be on some documentary where she's like, yeah, I was just supposed to meet him down at the Point, and next thing I know, they found his body parts in a bag.
And she's a suspect. Like,
yeah, but it's,
I don't know. That's crazy. And then, like, you think about, like, I don't know. I guess if I was in that position, I was like, okay, I have to meet this person here. I know what to look for.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's no one. I'd feel like somebody was watching me.
Yeah. The way she was describing it too, she was like, I saw this guy sitting on a bench and I thought maybe that was him. And, they were like eating a slice of pizza and they turned and looked at me and then, turned back around and threw the pizza out and walked. I'm like,
it was just like a sting operation.
It feels very like suspect.
It's all undercover.
Like, what is happening? But yeah, so that's
wild.
That's exciting, I guess. It wasn't my life, but
it's still strange.
Lived vicariously.
That's crazy. I did not have any experiences like that this week. No, I didn't do anything this week other than class. Like,
It's been a drag, man. Yeah, just
Yeah.
work, class. Yeah.
Really has. I hope everybody else is having more exciting lives than I am right now.
I just kind of hope a meteor would just come down and
Yeah.
end it all.
I say that about once a day.
Please. So what do we have today?
I think we're going to try out like a little bit of a different style today. We each picked out a case, didn't tell the other person which case we picked out. We'll probably know them once the other person starts talking about them, just because they're more than likely popular cases from law school. But we just thought it would be interesting to see what we picked out. So they're going to be shorter cases, but we're going to try to do 2 of them and see how that works.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think
Try
it'll
it
be
out.
interesting to see what you came up with.
Yeah, see what you came up with, and we'll see what you guys think about this. If you hate it, please tell us, and we'll stop.
You guys can vote on who's funnier, Drew or I.
It's me.
You're welcome.
It's me. All right,
But yeah,
let's hear it.
I guess who wants to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, Mr. Funny Man, go first.
Yeah, all right, I can start. So, I picked, it's Regina v. Faulkner, which is a case from 1877 that was held in the Court of Crown Cases reserved in Ireland.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah. So, basically what happened here is Robert Faulkner was on a cargo ship, and this cargo ship carried, I believe it said rum, I think there was cotton, there was something else, but
It's very old school.
1877.
Yeah.
Very
What's
old
your
school.
cargo?
Like-
Oh, we have corn and salt
and rum.
and rum. Yeah.
Yeah, so 1877, very old school.
Cool.
But
Cool.
So while on this cargo ship, he decides that he's going to break into the rum. So in order to do that, he went down to the hull, I think, wherever it's stored, and he just bores a hole into the edge of a barrel.
Barrel of rum.
And it said
It's
in
naughty dog.
I
you.
tried to do more in-depth research, but it was tough just because of the age of this case. But it said that he admitted that he made the hole too big, so that's where
It's
like
just
his
pouring out.
Yeah,
He needs some Flex Seal.
it said he only wanted enough for a sip, which confuses me because if you're gonna commit a crime in
Go
the
all
first
out,
place,
man.
yeah, it was like I just wanted a sip of rum.
Also, that's really like alcoholic level behavior. Like, I just need a taste,
I
please.
just need a sip of rum. Yeah. So he accidentally made it too big. So then it started pouring all over the floor.
Okay.
So he wanted to plug the hole in the barrel, but he couldn't find the hole in the barrel anymore. So
Wait, this huge hole, he just couldn't find
yeah, he
it?
couldn't find it. He
Guy's
couldn't-
blind. He
it
should
was
be,
dark,
yeah.
I guess.
Oh, okay.
So he lights a match, and it lights all of the rum on fire.
No.
And so there were some of the other seamen were killed.
Use that word like that. You
That's
gro-
that's what it says in my notes.
Oh, like men on boats. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, some of them were killed, and so basically he gets back to Ireland, and in his original trial, it was a felony for theft, but also for arson, for lighting the
Okay.
rum on fire. And basically, he admitted to the theft because that was very obvious in the first place. But the jury instructed that if they found him guilty for theft, they should also find him guilty for arson
Interesting.
because even though it was accidental, he committed the arson when he was committing the theft.
I'm trying to remember arson from a criminal law standpoint. Now, I know this is a UK case, but what is
Right.
the you might be. I'm jumping the gun. I'll let you. Yeah.
No, you're good. Let me. Sorry, just 1 second. I had.
Because don't you need to have the intent to commit?
Yeah.
the-
So, and that was his argument. One of the requirements for arson is malice, and his argument was that in order to prove that there was malice, they would have to prove that he intended to light the rum on fire.
Okay.
Which he did not. And that's, in the end, that's what is held, that just because he meant to commit the theft does not mean that he meant to commit the arson. So
Oh, so I didn't mean to take
no,
away.
no, you're good. That was it. Was a short case, like I said. I didn't want to pick a long one just because we're gonna try 2 here. Yeah. So originally he was found guilty of both, but then he appealed.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what the higher court used to rule, was basically that arson requires that malice.
Right.
It's the malicious burning of another's building or dwelling.
Sure, yeah.
And there's one more requirement, but I cannot remember it right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, could you imagine being able to hold somebody, find somebody guilty for something like as serious as arson,
Right.
in that circumstance? I mean, that's little, seems a little crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, theft, especially, he wasn't trying to harm anyone at all. Like, he was just trying to drink again.
Yeah, just trying to,
Just-
wet his whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think whenever you have a bunch of seamen on a boat, eventually they're gonna try
Gross, man.
to. Eventually, don't yell at me. Be more mature.
You should
First of all, this is not my fault.
Oh,
But
it's a me problem.
when you have a lot of seamen on a boat, you're gonna have some spilt rum. Is the saying.
That they do say that. Is that a saying?
It is a saying.
It's a very, very common saying. Yeah.
I think it's based off this case.
When you have a lot of semen on a boat,
There's gonna be spilt rum.
there's gonna be spilled rum. Everybody knows that saying. It's a very common saying, which is used across all kinds of different.
Nobody knew where it
situations.
came from until now.
That's where it came from. That I like that. That was a good case.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
quick, easy, to the point. Yeah, I'm glad they ruled the way they did, because I would be furious if they held this man.
Furious. Almost as mad as
The last
week.
episode, yeah. With that labor law, yeah.
Yeah, where the people just definitely lied.
Yeah. Speaking of arson, that was interesting. You probably remember from criminal law, one professor, he was saying how there was this, in Pittsburgh, years and years and years ago, there was this guy who was like real involved in all this organized crime type stuff. And I guess he was trying to burn down a nightclub and make it look like an accident. So he and his buddies went in at like 2 a.m. and they rigged this thing to where, they like rigged this whole system to where they were going to go miles and miles away and then call the place, but they rigged it so that this, like the spark from the phone call. I'm not an arsonist, guys, so I don't know exactly what's going on here.
That's exactly what an arsonist would say.
Oh my God, maybe I am an arsonist. So they were going to go miles away, call. The phone call was going to ignite some kind of accelerant, which was then going to make the building explode. Okay.
Interesting.
I mean, as far as arson goes, that's a pretty genius plan. Not condoning it, but I mean, that's pretty wild.
As an arsonist, in your opinion.
No. Except that it didn't work, because what happened is they were in there setting it up, and it's like 2 a.m. and miles away, somebody wakes up and dials the wrong number. It calls this nightclub and it explodes with them all in it. Blows them all. When people die, like some of the guys died, other them were like critically injured. I was like, that's bananas. That's
crazy.
insane.
It is bananas.
It's bananas. I like that.
But all right, we can see.
My turn.
Your turn.
This is a pretty extensive case, actually. This is in the matter of Baby M.
He needs more material.
Yeah, I really just thought that it was going to be a simple one, and then I started digging in it, and I was like, it's kind of there's a lot going on here. So I'm going to try to make this as concise as possible to keep this episode listenable. So in the matter of Baby M, we're talking about surrogacy contracts and whether or not they are enforceable. So the big question here is, are they enforceable? And that really depends. State laws are going to determine the enforceability of a surrogacy contract. So, and that kind of makes sense, because if surrogacy contracts, were just not enforceable anywhere, you would probably never hear of any surrogacies occurring at all. So this woman in this case was a nut. All right. She was insane. Listen to this. So here's the facts. Okay.
All right.
The Sterns, they're a married couple. Okay.
Howard.
It's Howard Stern and Belinda Stern. I don't know what his wife's
I have
name
no
is.
clue.
Not Howard Stern, you muppet. All right, listen. The Sterns are a married couple, and they want to have a baby, except for Mrs. Stern, she's infertile. She cannot have a baby. Okay, so they decide to go the surrogacy route. So I found out later she was infertile because she had, a multitude of medical issues. It's not really, it's kind of what I figured. Typically when somebody has that they're, some underlying condition.
Right.
So they find this woman named Mary Beth Whitehead, which change your last name, ma'am.
Yeah, sounds gross.
That's a gross name. My name's Susie Boyle. Actually, there are people with last
Yeah,
name Boyle.
Susan Boyle. It's just a person.
Susan, I'm sorry if you're out there listening.
You just made fun of us already on accident.
My name's Betty Goiter. There we go. I don't think anybody's named Betty Goiter.
Who's to say?
So anyway, bad last name, but that's besides the point. So Mrs. Whitehead is inseminated with Mr. Stern's sperm, okay? And she will deliver this baby and do whatever is necessary to terminate the maternal rights so that the Sterns could adopt baby M. And that's what's in this surrogacy contract. So Mr. Stern, he agrees to pay Mrs. Whitehead $10,000 after the birth and upon delivery of baby M to him and his wife.
Is that the going rate for a baby?
10,000. Well, that's kind of...
Well, I need to make a statement out. I'm not looking to purchase a baby.
Yeah, but if you were...
But for surrogacy, I didn't know there was a price.
$10,000 will get you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it depends on the quality of the baby, yeah. There's a lot of different variables that go into pricing a baby, but...
Yeah, I just feel like we're in a very dangerous zone that we don't want to go down.
But no, that's kind of important you said that because that's, largely what this case kind of in a way falls on.
Right.
So he offers Mrs. Whitehead $10,000 after birth and upon delivery of the baby. As a side note, the importance of baby M to Mr. Stern was also huge because most of his family had been killed in the Holocaust. So he wanted to be able to carry on his family's name. So it was really important to him that he has this baby.
Right.
So that's just as an aside. So anyway, this baby is born, baby M, on March 27th of 1986. It's a fellow March baby. I'm March 7th. So I definitely feel this deep connection with baby M right now. Pisces power.
Oh, yeah.
You like that? I hate myself. So, all seems well, but Mrs. Whitehead decided that she had formed an unbreakable bond with baby M and that she was not going to give up this baby, okay? She's saying how the baby looked like her daughter, and then when the Sterns told her what they were going to name it, she broke into tears, which, honestly, that really she could have just been a bad name. She's like, we're going to name it Betty Goiter, and she was like, no!
It's better than anything Whitehead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So... on March 30th, baby M's delivered to the Sterns, and they end up naming the baby Melissa, which is an okay name. Yeah,
I see why she burst out in tears. No, what?
Melissa? All right, so in the meantime, Mrs. Whitehead, she's just falling apart, okay? She gave this baby away, and she's just not happy about it. She, the next day, she goes to the Stearns house, and she pleads her case for Melissa, and apparently was so grief-stricken that the Sterns actually thought she might honestly commit suicide. Jeez. They were worried that she might really harm herself. So Mrs. Whitehead's pleading with them, and she says, hey, can I just take baby M for a week? And I just have her for a week. And the Sterns like, you know what, this lady's really she's gonna hurt herself. So let's give her our baby for a week, which is also a crazy...
Yeah, no,
like...
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I feel like my last thought is, well, I'm really nervous that this person might be having
a mental
like a mental lapse or anything. I should give them my baby.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of weird things going on here. So,
what year is this case?
1986 was when the baby was born.
People didn't really care about their babies then.
No, I mean, definitely in the 80s, they just latchkey kids.
Anyone could take them.
Yeah, here you go. So the Sterns give Melissa, or baby M, to Mrs. Whitehead under the presumption that she would take the baby for a week and then give the baby back. But apparently Mrs. Whitehead thought that this meant, she would just indefinitely have the baby.
She just gets to keep it.
So she just took 4 months for them to get their baby back. Mr. Stern files this complaint seeking enforcement of the surrogacy contract, saying like, hey, this is our baby,
Give it back.
you give it back. So Mrs. Whitehead finds out that he, files this complaint, and she and her husband flee to Florida with the baby.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Like, I'm connecting the whole case through this whole thing from reading it before.
Yeah. And so, mind you, they're in New Jersey, so they flee to Florida with baby M. Okay. And the parties communicated with each other then via phone. That's Mrs. Whitehead and Mr. Stern to try to kind of reconcile this, And Mrs. Whitehead just kept getting more and more erratic. She's like, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna kill the baby, and then I'm also gonna falsely accuse Mr. Stern of inappropriately touching my daughter. Like, she went off the deep end. It was like, yeah. So this really obviously became a huge ordeal. And Mr. Stern ends up, they find out where she's staying, Mrs. Whitehead. She's staying with her parents in Florida. So the police go there and forcibly remove the child. So that's basically the facts. Okay. So goes to trial, and the Sterns are awarded full custody, and Mrs. Whitehead is given limited visitation rights. Okay. So then this gets appealed to the New Jersey Supreme Court eventually, who ultimately held that such contracts, that is the surrogacy contract, are not enforceable. Okay. And the two reasons that they are using to argue this is statutory conflict with New Jersey laws and public policies of the state of New Jersey. So this is what I'm going to try to breeze through, because there's a lot here, and I know I'm probably going to be missing out on certain things. This isn't going to be as in-depth as it probably should be, but here we go. So as far as the conflict with New Jersey laws, there was 3 reasons that they mentioned. The first was that there's New Jersey laws that prohibit the use of money in connection with adoptions. So though it appears the parties went, and I have a lot of snippets that I took from this case, so a lot of these are quotes. Though it appears the parties went to great lengths to avoid violation of this statute, despite the transfer of $10,000 to Mrs. Whitehead, the money was clearly paid and accepted in connection with the adoption of baby M. So they're basically saying we have these statutes that prohibit use of money in connection with a private placed adoption, as we have here. And that's exactly what they're doing here.
Right.
So, Mr. Stern was paying this money, and he knew he was paying for the adoption. Mrs. Whitehead knew she was accepting the money for payment of giving the child up for adoption. The payment of $10,000 was only to occur after the surrender of the baby and upon completion of Mrs. Whitehead terminating her parental rights. So the Sterns also, as per the contract, would pay nothing if the baby died before 4 months into pregnancy, and only pay $1,000 if the baby was stillborn. So all of this together tends to prove that the money was not for the services rendered so much as it was for the adoption of baby Melissa. Betty Goiter. Yuck. So, why is this the law in the first place, this New Jersey law? So basically what we were talking about before, the court states that baby selling exploits the parties involved, where adoption statutes would seek to further humanitarian goals, including the best interest of the child. Baby selling, as the court says we have here, have consequences that are potentially present in surrogacies. So that's the first statute, is the one against money in connection with adoptions, and were found to violate that here.
Right.
The second one is requiring proof of parental unfitness or abandonment before termination of parental rights is ordered or an adoption granted. So New Jersey law requires termination of parental rights only where there is a voluntary surrender of the child to an approved agency, or where there has been a showing of parental abandonment or unfitness by an action from the Division of Youth and Family Services. So those are the instances in which parental rights can be terminated. In order to terminate parental rights under the private placement adoption statute, there must be a finding of intentional abandonment or a very substantial neglect of parental duties without a reasonable expectation of a reversal of that conduct in the future. In this case, termination of parental rights was obtained not by proving the statutory prerequisites, but by claiming the benefit of contractual provisions. So, for all that has been stated above, it's pretty clear that a contractual agreement to abandon the parental rights or to not contest a termination action, it's not going to be enforced in these courts. You can't, So that statute was found to be violated, the one requiring proof of parental unfitness or abandonment before termination of rights. Third and final statute was the New Jersey law that makes the surrender of custody and consent to adoption revocable in private placement adoptions. So in this contract, there was no clause that gave Mrs. Whitehead a right to rescind her agreement or to terminate all parental rights and surrender custody. And then here's where I got some snippets from the court. It says contractual surrender of parental rights is not provided for in our statute as now written. The provision in the surrogacy contract whereby the mother, Mrs. Whitehead, irrevocably agrees to surrender custody of the child and to terminate her parental rights conflicts with the settled interpretation of New Jersey statutory law. There is only one irrevocable consent, and that's the one explicitly provided for by statute, a consent to surrender of custody and placement with an approved agency or with the Department of Youth and Family Services. The provision in the surrogacy contract agreed to before conception requiring the natural mother to surrender custody of the child without any right of revocation is one more indication of the essential nature of this transaction, the creation of a contractual system of termination and adoption designed to circumvent our statutes. So basically this contract that they had was basically their way of sidestepping
To
all
just
of these.
get around all the laws.
Yeah. So that's the statutory reasons for invalidating this contract. Then public policy, and we're wrapping it up here. It is a New Jersey public policy that children should remain with and be brought up by both of their natural parents. And this surrogacy contract, as the court says, clearly violates this public policy in the eyes of the court. So a child, instead of starting off its life with as much peace and security as possible, finds itself immediately in a tug-of-war between contending mother and father, which... I don't know, maybe I'm speaking out of ignorance here, but I feel like a newborn baby is not going to have any, idea of what the hell is actually happening here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly how it affects a baby's brains. I don't know the studies of those, but
yeah.
I don't know if as like an actual infant,
Yeah.
how much it would actually affect.
You don't
anything.
remember
But
any of that?
I
Yeah.
don't remember. I don't remember any of that, and my mom and dad. No, we're gonna cut that actually, just because we're gonna cut that.
So, additionally, there was no counseling given to Mrs. Whitehead prior to giving up baby M. The infertility clinic did conduct a psychological evaluation of her, though, and I thought this was pretty crazy. So they conducted this psychological evaluation, and they did find that there was some traits present in her that indicated that she would have difficulty separating herself with the baby upon giving birth to it. But they didn't tell Mrs. Whitehead or the Stearns. They just kept that a secret. And this is presumably because if they did disclose this, the surrogacy would possibly be called off. And the court says that this would result in the clinic losing out on their fee. So that's this whole, they didn't have the best interests of the child in mind. There is not the slightest suggestion that any inquiry will be made at any time to determine the fitness of the Stearns as custodial parents, of Mrs. Stern as an adoptive parent, their superiority to Mrs. Whitehead, or the effect of the child on not living with her natural mother. So, again, best interest of the child. The trial court just said, give the baby to the Stearns without any consideration as to, what would be in the best interest of the child. And basically, that's they just talk that point into the ground, it seems, this whole public policy of best interest of the children. And ultimately, and wrapping this up and keeping it short, is basically the surrogacy contracts involving the exchange of money for a binding agreement by the surrogacy to consider her child upon birth are against public policy and void as a matter of law. So basically you can't, in New Jersey at least, you can't engage in such types of contracts because it violates New Jersey statutes and public policy.
So what happened to Baby M?
Baby M ended up with the Stearns.
Okay. I was going to say, they must have ended up, I would have assumed that they did an analysis after this case, and they were like, still probably should go.
Old Baby M. But yeah, I mean, I felt like I had to kind of rush through that one just because, again, I wanted to keep this listenable, but I think, the point got across.
Yeah, and we'll have to, I guess, if we do this same kind of style in the future, we'll have to just make sure that we have, short cases.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was going to be a shorter case.
Yeah.
And then I pulled it up on Westlaw, and it was 80 pages long.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what everybody thinks, whether they like this style.
Yeah.
if anybody has any opinions on it, if you just want to reach out on Instagram, Facebook.
Let us know. And then also let us know who's more personable as per this episode.
It's me.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, so I think that's it.
That's all I have.
Yeah, so I guess, do you want to see if you can remember your
Oh,
list?
jeez, put the pressure on me. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TalkShoe,
Spotify.
How do I forget Spotify? Apple Podcasts, and the Stitcher app.
Cool.
Let me try that again. I just edited that out. Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, TalkShoe, Apple Podcasts, and the Stitcher app.
Got it.
Got it. Look at that, guys. I'm getting better. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, we will see you next week with 2 more gripping episodes.
2 more gripping episodes.